I'd like to call the business meeting of the Portland Board of Public Education to order. It is Tuesday, August 6, 2024, and this is the first meeting of the 2024-25 school year. We are meeting in a hybrid format tonight. Board members Noor and Bryden are not able to attend, and Board member Bondo is joining us online. And many of our student representatives are still off doing a lot of summer activities, so some will be joining us for short amounts of time tonight via Zoom.
Progress.
Now we're going to record attendance. So Dr. Warren, will you please call the roll?
Member Ali?
Here.
Member Bilyeu? Vice Chair Bondo?
Présente.
Member Bryden? Member Figdor?
Here.
Member Grant?
Here.
Member Noor? Member Opperman?
Here.
Student Representative Hayden? Student Representative Kantiba? Student Representative Knight? Student Representative McDonald? Student Representative Rosado? Student Representative Kuntu? Chair Lentz.
Present. Thank you. And now the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible,
and liberty and justice for all.
Portland Public Schools recognizes the original inhabitants of the land on which our city and schools stand. The Wolastoqiyik or Maliseet, Micmac, Penobscot, and Passamaquoddy tribes, known collectively as the Wabanaki Confederacy or People of the Dawnland. We are honored to have Wabanaki children among our students today, and as a district, we are committed to making past, present, and future of Wabanaki peoples visible in our schools and classrooms. As a reminder of our mission, the Portland Public Schools is responsible for ensuring a challenging, relevant, and joyful education that empowers every learner to make a difference in the world. We build relationships among families, educators, and the community to promote the healthy development and academic achievement of every learner. And our definition of equity is that equity is all people being held to high expectations and having access to opportunities that are reflective of their individual needs, identities, and experiences. Equity is achieved in Portland Public Schools when there are no identifiable differences in outcomes and experiences for any population subgroup. And now we're going to move on to public comment. If there's anybody on Zoom that would like to give public comment, please raise your Zoom hand. Or if you're here in the room, feel free to come up to the podium. Okay, I'm going to give it a couple other beats. Okay, I see no hands on Zoom and no bodies at the podium, so I'm going to go ahead and close public comment and move into my remarks. I'd like to welcome all of us back to the first meeting of the 2024-2025 school year. I hope all of you were able to find some rest and relaxation through the month of July. While we, the board, were on recess, there were many in the district that were doing essential work of prepping everything from buses to classrooms and to technology. And I just wanted to take a moment to thank all of the people that have been working so hard over the summer. And I'm excited to hear tonight about the status of everything as we move towards the first day of school. And as a reminder, that first day of school is coming up on September 3rd. Be on the lookout for communication from schools soon about class assignments and back to school events. I also want to give thanks to everyone who applied to be on the advisory committee for school boundaries. We had 59 people apply for 10 spots, and the applicants are very diverse in lived experience and geography. The appointments committee will be meeting tomorrow night to decide the makeup of the committee, and will bring a slate of candidates to the August 20th board meeting for review and approval. Finally, I just want to acknowledge that many families reached out expressing frustration with the decreased capacity of the city's before and after school programming. While these programs run in our schools, the city manages and maintains them. This year, they had to reduce the number of young people they could take into their programs because of ongoing and continuous staffing and training issues. They're hopeful to use this year as a building year and will be able to increase capacity in the future. While this is good news for the future, it doesn't fix the strain that many families are feeling this year. We recognize that access to before and after care is essential to a healthy district and healthy families. Many members of this board have reached out to city councilors and staff to see how we can support them in increasing their programming, and we'll share any updates with the community as we get them. It will also be important for all of us to watch how investments into this program are made in the city's budget within this next budget year. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to the superintendent.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to echo the chair's comments and just welcome everybody back. It is exciting to be back here and to be preparing for the start of a new school year. One of the things that I truly appreciate about working in education is the cyclical nature of things. And so one of the things that we get to do in our work is use part of the summer to reflect on what we did last year and to think about what worked well and what we want to do differently. And this week, we actually started our leadership retreat. And so yesterday, today, and tomorrow, our school leaders in central office under the leadership of Dr. Atkinson-Duina and Dr. Ahmed have been meeting and going through both the reflection process and professional development in preparation for next year. And that has been just exciting to really sort of get the juices going. It's one of the sort of, as I think of it, the first days that we go through as a school, right? We have the first days with leaders. We'll have the first days with teachers on August 27th. Want to, in this moment, also just remind board members and our staff that we will, for this year, be bringing back a whole district community event. And so we will be having all of our staff at the Merrill Auditorium as a big welcome back with everybody in Portland Public Schools and with many members of our community on the 28th to celebrate that. And then, as the chair mentioned, we will have students back with us on September 3rd. As part of our tradition of welcoming folks back, we also want to share with you and have many of our department leads here tonight to share with you where we are at in terms of getting ready for the school year. And I get to kick off this presentation. Just a huge thank you for everybody that has spent the summer really making sure that we are prepared for staff returning and students returning at the beginning of the school year. And so, you will see some representation here. Just know that behind the scenes, there are truly hundreds of people making sure that we are fully staffed, that buildings are ready, that schools are outfitted with books and materials, and that everything's there, and just a credit to everybody that's doing that work. And so, we are fortunate as a community and as a district to have staff that are really focused on making sure that we continue to be the great district that we are. And that means that we're starting off strong. And you can see a small sampling of that here, whether that is our food service, making sure that we are prepared for great meals on September 3rd, to our HR team there in the top center, to preparing for computer distribution, to multilingual, making sure that students are ready and know when school is, to facilities, to transportation, getting ready. And so just a thank you to those teams. As I've said, we've been using the summer to make sure that we're started, and this evening we will have updates from 8 of our departments to share with you as board and as community exactly where we're at. The focus that we did around this is to share with you not only the work that's been doing, but also where we have both risks and still work to do, so that you are aware of that. These 8 departments, we're going to go through all of them. There's a little bit of an overlap in some of the work, and so I think it's important to go through each of them, and then members of the team will be here to also then answer any questions that you may have. And so we'll hold questions until the end, if that works for everybody. And then I will try to do this, but I'll drive slides for everybody just to make it as easy as possible. And if I can just ask from the team end, we'll do introductions as we go along the way, just as we have some new staff and some staff returning that don't always present in front of the board. And so it'll just be nice to put name to face again, if we can do that. Cool. All right. So I'm going to welcome up Jennifer Slaynick to start us off with an update around staffing.
Thank you and good evening. Our first bullet point there is that we have a new executive director who started July 1st. That's me, Jennifer Slaynick, and I've spent this month just spending my time getting to know Portland Public Schools, getting to understand all of the different systems and structures that are in place, and looking for those areas where we can stretch and grow. Giving you some data, I wanted to be consistent with what kind of data has been provided in the past. So taking a look at retirements and resignations from 22-23 until the 23-24 school years, we're seeing pretty consistent numbers in terms of what those retirements and resignations are looking like. So no significant increase, but a stabilization of those numbers. One good piece of this news is that as a result of some of those retirements and resignations, we did have a number of staff who were impacted by reduction in force in the spring. And because of that, we've been fortunate enough to be able to offer a lot of those individuals an opportunity to continue in their employment with Portland Public Schools. And so that's been exciting to make phone calls and invite people back into our family. As of Monday, July 29th, we had approximately 50 remaining openings across the district. This number, of course, continues to fluctuate because we are still hiring and moving through that process. And a couple of resignations and retirements do continue to come in. So, but pretty steady right around 50. On the next slide, just sort of talking about we are continuing to work on hiring. We've been doing that all summer and we'll continue to do so into the fall. And the other work that we're doing is really looking at our systems and our structures in human resources to look for those opportunities to grow. So we're onboarding and processing new employees all of the time. I want to thank the diligence of the human resources staff because they are in constant meetings and having phone calls with people and trying to figure out what the best placements are and really getting everybody else set and informed about what they need to know to join our community, our family at the start of the new school year. We do have areas of continued focus for hiring because we do have those hard to fill positions specifically. And I don't think this will come as any surprise. I think this is pretty consistent across looking at last year's data and across districts, not only in Maine, but across the country. Our difficult to fill positions include ed techs in our special education and pre-K programs, transportation, bus drivers and assistants for our transportation department, and our custodial staff. Specifically, our second shift seems to be a little bit harder to fill than some of the other positions. In HR, our work now moving forward as we continue to hire, we're also reviewing and looking at our structures and systems. And as I said, looking for those opportunities to kind of tweak what we're doing. Our goal is to review our standard operating procedures and to get things into place that not only make the work in our department more efficient and more effective, but also to be able to better support all of the members of our community, all of our employees, so that they have clarity and understanding the work of human resources and how we can work for them. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that. Going to welcome up Miss Dawn Hilton.
Hi, good evening. My name is Dawn Hilton. I'm the Director of Food Service for the district, and it's nice to be with all of you this evening. Our summer meal program is running smoothly thanks to our small crew of 11 staff that are just amazing. They're fantastic. They make sure those summer meals go out and our kids have access to breakfast and lunch at our 11 summer meal sites. We're on track to have all of our food in place for the first day of school. We currently have 4 vacancies. This includes our district chef position, which is part of our spend down funding. And it also includes the director's position. I will be stepping back from that role, but I will stay in the position until the new director is hired and help with that transition process. So we're moving forward with hiring. August 27th, 28th is our all-staff training. And our upcoming work, our trucks are scheduled to have service on August 12th. It'll include a thorough inspection, oil change, and make sure that they're ready to go for the first day of school. We are scheduling our preventative maintenance for all of our kitchen equipment, and our all-staff training will be on August 27th and 28th. Thank you.
And if I can, just before we transition to transportation, just an extreme thank you to Dawn, who stepped in when we needed somebody to step in 2 years ago into food service and has sort of been a reluctant leader in it and has just done an amazing job. And just kudos, to Julianne. Yes, thank you.
You're very much.
And we've sort of gotten to the spot where it's all right, we gotta finally let her step back into a role that she wants to do. And so just thank you for this, and thank you for being willing to help us through the busiest time and the hardest time, the start of school. So just a big thank you for that.
Thank you so much.
Good evening. I'm Sarah Warren. I am the Senior Executive Director of Strategy, but within that larger bucket of work, we have the Transportation Office. Unfortunately, our director, Ben Lesavoy, is at home with a sick kiddo tonight, so we're filling in for him. But I'm joined by my wonderful new colleague, Katie Lamb. You want to just say where you came from?
Hi, guys. I'm Katie Lamb. I have a couple kids in the district. I have loved Portland schools since I went to school here, and I came from a background in construction operational work, and I was really excited to come in and tackle the assistant director position. So I'm having a lot of fun so far, 5 weeks in.
And she means that, which is great. Yeah. So one of the exciting things is that we are really fully staffed at the office management level now in transportation, which is a first since I arrived here just about a year ago. Ben took over as director in February. Katie came on just over a month ago, the same day as Jim McLean, who is our new dispatcher. So what you see represented there is actually a restructuring of that office. We decided to shift things around a little bit, change some of the titles and job descriptions to better meet the needs of the office. And so far, it's working great. The other piece of the work that I want to just comment on that's not really represented on the slides is all the work that happened over the summer, not just the work that's happening now to get ready for the school year, but all of the transportation that was done for our extended school year programs for students with disabilities, our work around, we partner with the rec department from the city to transport the students in their programs. We have a partnership with Learning Works, and so we transport students for that, as well as some other summer programming that the district runs. So kudos to the team for keeping all that going while also trying to get ready for the new year and onboard brand new staff. So it's very exciting. Some of the things that we're doing as we look to the new year, we're trying to build on some lessons learned from the last year. One of those issues was just making sure that we know as management staff, but particularly our bus drivers and bus assistants, are really clear on which students they have on each bus, and that staff who are putting students on the bus, be it teachers, administrators, or other team members, are clear about which bus a student should be getting on, and then that the drivers know which stop the student is getting off at. So we have, with partnership between our pre-K team and our transportation office, developed a tagging system, which will essentially be a tag, a bright tag that's on the backpack of each student in elementary school, with a yellow tag for a student that's in pre-K or K. The differentiation there is because when we drop off a pre-K or K student, we need to make sure that they have an adult guardian there to meet them. So that helps flag for the driver that they need to make sure they wait for that adult to be present. What we do if we don't have that adult there is try to reach the family, and then if if we can't get to them, we ultimately end up having to take the student back to school and then connect with the family from there. So those will be distributed through our back to school events, and anyone who doesn't get one by then will get one on the first day of school. And we'll pilot this year and see how it goes, if it helps us in organizing things better. Another thing we've been working on in partnership with our network teams and our sort of experts in culture, climate, and behavioral issues is a new training for our own drivers and assistants around behavior management. We're trying to align this as much as we can to the positive behavior intervention and support work already going on in our schools. And then we'll work with our schools to do training for the students themselves to make sure that the expectations around behavior are clear from the beginning of the year. That makes it easier for us then to follow up and support both schools and drivers as things may come up. Training for drivers is ongoing, but there's a big push around training just before the start of the school year from the 27th to the 29th. That typically includes safety training and all the required things that our drivers need to get and our assistants, but we'll add in that behavior training to that session as well. And then there's a constant priority at this point on figuring out how to strengthen our systems and our structures and our operating procedures in the transportation office to make things as safe as possible and to make sure that we're running as smoothly and efficiently as we can. One of the exciting things that we're looking forward to launching in September is a new system that it essentially talks to our software. We use Traversa, which is a Tyler Technology software. We were able to take advantage of some of the remaining ESSER funding from the federal government and the COVID money to buy tablets. And those tablets will get put on the buses and allows the drivers to get in real time the route that they're driving, as opposed to having to look at a piece of paper with all of the route information and the students on the bus. It also enables us to take away the paper-based version of a lot of things, including the way that they monitor maintenance issues. And it allows the drivers to see who the students are that are supposed to be on a given route, so that if something comes up and isn't working quite right, we can track them down pretty quickly. So we're excited for these new developments, and I'm hoping that the next time we come to talk to you, we'll have Ben with us. So I know he was sad not to be here.
Thanks, guys.
Sarah, you have a second slide.
I'm so excited. I got stuck on the tablets. I love the tablets. Okay. So in terms of staffing, and I don't know why I stepped away from this slide, because this has been a huge focus of my day and much of our time right now. I will say thank you to the board again for approving the van driver positions as part of the budget process. We've actually had a lot of interest in those positions, and I think it's going to really free up the team in the routing. They're working deep in the routing process right now for the new school year. We will basically be using these van driver positions to take some of the pressure off of other runs. It will enable us to better transport students that are out of district. In some cases, McKinney-Vento requirements have us moving students between here and as far as Lewiston. So the vans help give us some flexibility in a variety of areas. I can't even give you a count right now. In terms of bus drivers and assistants, it's continuously fluctuating. We just interviewed another driver candidate yesterday. So I think that we're in good shape for the start of the school year. It's not quite the level that we had budgeted for or wanted to have as we went into the new school year, but we're going to be okay to start the year, and we will continue to recruit and hire. And so I don't have final numbers for you yet. We're still working through the routes and still working to try to reduce the reliance on contracted buses. So the next time we meet, we'll have better numbers for you on that. And then in the recruitment and hiring efforts, we realized we really needed to kind of step up in terms of getting the word out. So we have gone out with increased communications with support from our communications team. They posted things on social media, which definitely got us some significant added hits, and that was great. We have actually still have in place a signing bonus and a referral bonus. So we're just trying to get the word out and remind people that that's there. And then trying to push through our own personal networks. And there's been talk of a job fair. I don't know if we're going to get to that before the year starts, but that was another idea. So we're trying to attack the hiring issues from all different angles. And we're also thinking about what the longer term possibilities are for doing more to partner with our own adult education program to ensure that we're building a better pipeline of younger people coming through our programs and into our workforce.
Thank you. I'd like to welcome up Tamara Sweeney, who leads our facilities team.
Good evening. So the facility department has had a very busy summer getting ready for the school year. We currently have a few open positions in the custodial department, including a head custodian position at Moore Middle School, and we're working hard to fill these positions so we can be fully staffed at the start of school. We are also having our annual safety training for all the facility staff. That includes asbestos awareness training, hazard communications, bloodborne pathogen training, and just general safety training, to name a few items that will be done on August 21st and 22nd. We implemented a new summer carpet cleaning process that should help to avoid the mold challenges we experienced at Talbot in August of 2023. It's a carpet encapsulation process, which is a low moisture cleaning method solution that is sprayed down that contains polymers that attach to soil particles and break down their bond to the carpet, so that we're not doing steam or carpet, wet carpet extraction during the summer. Our one-year-old work order management subsystem is helping us stay on track of maintenance requests, and also helps us in improving the communications we have with school administration and staff. That's been a real big help in the last year, and it helps make sure that administration knows where we are with work orders. We feel we are about 65 to 70% ready for the start of school. I did initial walkthroughs at each building last week, and we'll do more extensive walkthrough readiness inspections next week with my assistant director. So these are just some, I just want to run through some examples of some of the projects that we completed this summer or in the process of completing. These are just some of them. Presumpscot, Reiki, and Longfellow BFOF. The schools received their new furniture. We're finishing up punch lists. Presumpscot's new wing floor needed to be redone, as the adhesive never set properly in the initial installation of it. They received new flooring in the cafeteria last week, and we are finishing the corridors this week. But the classrooms themselves will need to be done next summer, as we ran out of time due to the adhesive manufacturing issues we were having. So more to come on that. The Talbot ADA project is going really well. All classrooms received new millwork and sinks. We converted 2 pod bathrooms to be ADA compliant. We remodeled a bathroom into a mother's room and installed 2 new staff bathrooms. At Moore, King, and Portland High School, we regraded ramps to be ADA compliant. During high school, we repurposed an equipment storage room to be a new wrestling room. At Paths, we built a soundproof music room. Deering and East End, we created workspaces for the new elementary and secondary network teams. At King, we're having the green exterior facade painted next week. That was in desperate need. East End and Talbot, we're in the process of putting contracts together with the city to install the cameras at both of those schools, interior and exterior. Both of those schools don't have any cameras at this point. And we are in the process of working with our environmental consultant to do district-wide radon testing starting in October. It's state mandated reporting of testing no later than October 2025 and every 5 years thereafter. So Paths, Moore, King, we are in the process of working with the city on HVAC projects. They're to go out to bid. And Presumpscot, we repaved the front parking lot. Deering, we're putting a new paved pathway from Ludlow to ADA ramp so that buses will not have to pull into a very tight parking lot. And in King, we are putting new carpet in the music room. And thank you. And I am sure the facility will be ready for school to start.
And I'm trying to sit on my hands a little bit just because of the number of departments and that, but I just want to say for each of the directors that's coming up and the departments, there's a level of humility that I feel like sometimes I just need to chime in, and facilities is a good example of this. Director Sweeney's presenting on all of the work that facilities is doing. And later on this evening, we're also going to hear about some of the major construction that we're going to propose to the state. And so I just want to put out there both the huge credit that this team is doing to make sure that our buildings are ready, where we have a range of newly renovated, amazing buildings and buildings that are in last stage of life. That take huge amounts of work to make sure that they're ready. And so just a huge credit to the team. And I also want to acknowledge that the team is working through conditions that are ever evolving. And so they can have a building ready and then have a storm like last night, and their work starts over in some cases. And so I feel like I could add this to every team, but I think in this case, it's just worth acknowledging just a huge credit because just the other day, this team did immense work, and then there was roof leaks at Talbot. And so the work starts all over again to make sure that that gym and that area and that part of that building is ready. And so you see them and you think, why is it 65, 70%? In some cases, some of those spaces are in their third iteration. So when a building is ready, it's actually at 150 or 180% because that's the level of work that the team does. And so just a serious credit to you and to your team for the work you're doing. And you will hear about some of those challenges when we get to later today. So thank you.
Appreciate it.
I want to welcome up Director Ted Howe. I believe that we got an introduction very briefly. I'm trying to remember, Ted. It feels like, we didn't. So Ted joined us last year in April as the Director of IT. We've been very fortunate as he both has a background in sort of the hard piece around how do you fix a machine, but also what really impressed me when I met him was how do you think through the systems of how do you manage, 6,000, 8,000 devices, and how do you do that in a way that's thoughtful. And so maybe you could start with just a quick introduction of you and then just an update around your summer work.
Sure. So my name's Ted Howe, and I am the new IT director. I've been here since April. I'm coming most recently from the municipal world. I was the IT director for the towns of Cumberland, Standish, and Yarmouth. I worked for an MSP. This is my first school, but I feel like I lend a lot of perspective that's maybe a lot of my staff who've been here for a long time don't quite have, and they have the historical knowledge to help make this mission succeed. So this summer, summer's always really busy. We have a lot of devices to get through. We've got 7,100 students approximately. And so all those devices need to be prepped for the fall. We also have 2,576 new Chromebooks coming in that we're preparing, as well as 400 new staff laptops for K-5, primarily for K-5 teachers that we're also prepping. They'll be distributed shortly after the student laptops are distributed. We also have new employee orientation on the 20th, where we'll be distributing new devices then as well to new staff. So this last year, we've been upgrading the Wi-Fi throughout the district. We did about half of the buildings, so we've got about 8 more to go. We did most of it primarily over the spring break and some over the summer break, just updating just the access points and the network infrastructure in the facilities themselves. Yeah, as I said, a third of the devices that we're issuing this year are brand new devices. And so it's been a large undertaking for my team to get them prepared. We'll be replacing the K-5 laptops. We are implementing a new ticketing system. That's something we're really excited about. Right now, currently the district has 2 ticketing systems, one that's for IT, finance, and HR that we all share, and then another one that's for multilingual, central reg, and some other departments. And we're merging the 2 so that we don't have this mishmash of communication. It'll help us streamline. We can automate some of the processes. It'll be good for all of us, not just IT. It'll also help us track our asset management, project management, things of that sort. So it'll be able to let us work a little bit more efficiently. We are running with kind of a lean team with only 5 technicians for the whole district. So we need to run real lean. This will help us do that. We're also implementing remote device monitoring, which will, and it'll allow us to connect remotely to devices. Right now, if a teacher has a problem on a laptop, we'll say, one of my techs has to drive there to see the teacher. And that's no good. We have 5 techs, 17 schools, so it doesn't work. So this will allow us to be able to connect remotely and help teachers with whatever issues they're having. Yeah, that's about it. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for just jumping into the work since April and just the changes already that we're seeing. I'm going to welcome up Dr. Atkinson-Duena, he just popped up there, who's going to share out where the elementary schools are.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Angela Atkinson-Duena, and I have spent all day yesterday and all day today with our elementary school leaders, the principals and assistant principals, and our elementary network team, just working on our plans and getting ready for school to open. And it's been a great 2 days. So anyway, it's been a long day, but I also felt like a very good one. And I couldn't be more excited to have those people in our elementary schools. So just want to make a note of how great they are. And then also, you've heard a lot about our staffing, particularly our hard to staff positions. We did lose Julie Kirby just recently. And so we do have an opening at our elementary student services director position. And I am really anticipating that this will be a difficult position to fill. The secondary position has been open for, I think, over a month now and still remains unfilled. So it's just a very difficult staffing period for special education leadership these days. So we're continuing to work on that. We also have new team spaces at East End Community School. So Boyd and his team have been very welcoming to have us over there. We're already moved. We've started working there. And we also have a meeting space in a room at Longfellow, so that if we have for our group meetings with people from the school positions, like our special ed school-based coordinators or our instructional coaches, we have a space that's more central for everybody to meet and room dedicated there. We have 2 new school leaders who I think you've heard about already. David Briley, who's a lead teacher at Reiki, and Kristen Rogers will be the new assistant principal at Talbot. Both of them are familiar to Portland Public Schools. They've been here for a while, so I think the transition will be smooth. And they both joined us today and yesterday at our leadership retreat. We also just want to know Portland Public Schools does not stop during the summer. We had about 250 regular ed students in our summer programming. That was mostly done with a partnership with LearningWorks, and they serve 6 elementary schools. Reiki also had another program for rising first graders and rising second graders that they got through a grant that they sought on their own. And of course, we also have our special education extended school year programming. I just want to, our school leaders, in addition to planning, spend a lot of their time staffing and making sure that they have teachers hired, ed techs hired. So they are continuing to do that all summer to fill in those positions. And so we are continuing to work on that. I think most of our classroom teacher positions are filled, but we still do have some openings, and people are beginning to, and we do definitely have some openings, as Jennifer mentioned, for our ed techs and our special education ed techs. One of the challenges that we wrestled with this summer was around kindergarten adult support. That is kind of adult support for our incoming kindergarten students with IEPs. So the transition from CDS into our Portland Public Schools, trying to understand what are the needs of students and what kind of support that they need. We have a process for that. And really what we saw was a greater need than we expected. So we did have to kind of figure out how we were going to fund those that additional need, and so we're moving forward with hiring what for the need, but I would say we're a little bit later than we would have hoped to be. We still, at least school hasn't started, so that's good. We still have time, but that's a point that I think people now just will have to hire for more. And then, of course, we have spent the summer planning with not just on today, which I already mentioned, but school teams on their own with their school leadership teams have had people come in. Smaller groups of teachers have been in planning, many with support from the Foundation Summer Planning Grants, just working to build a stronger school culture, strengthening their behavior management systems, creating their professional development plans, finalizing their school schedules, and planning for curriculum implementation work. So even though it's summer, the buildings are still busy and people are still doing their work to get ready for the beginning of school. So thank you.
Thank you. Welcome up, Dr. Ahmed.
Good evening, everyone. As Angela expressed, actually, the secondary team as well are engaged in leadership development and getting ready for the new school year. And I appreciate their hard work and dedication for our students and for the community. We anticipate that the school-based leadership hiring team will be completed soon. We hired a principal for Lyman Moore Middle School, and soon we will complete the hiring for Portland Adult Education Assistant Director. Also, another front, there are concerned educators who came together and some school leaders who expressed the challenges that cell phones are bringing and posing to the school environment and to the social emotional learnings of our students. And the group started an initiated discussion, and we are working on this and trying to engage more stakeholders in this process. And in the near future, we'll bring something to the board just for discussion. And as a part of the effort for the network team is to get closer to the schools, the secondary network team is moved to Deering High School. It's a very beautiful space, and we have actually offices as well as meeting spaces. And this is really bringing the network team and the central office teams closer to the schools. So this is a very positive step moving forward. The district is applying a Bar Foundation grant to support the work of the high school for the future and the current high school work as well. So we are in that process as well. The most secondary schools are closed or to finalize their schedules for next year, school year 24-25. And there was some leadership and transitioning for Lyman Moore Middle Schools and needed some additional time. But the network team members are working and supporting this process as well. And we have, as Angela mentioned, we are the secondary director for special education for the network is open that position for a while, and we are engaging and looking how to find someone for that position. As Angela said, it was hard, but we are actively working on that as well. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Our last department that's going to address us tonight and speak to us about their work is Dr. Valenzuela, who's going to talk about our work supporting students who are identified as McKinney-Vento or experiencing housing instability.
Good evening, everybody. Hope you are having a wonderful summer. It's still summer. Portland Public Schools is required to identify children and youth who lack a fixed, regular, adequate nighttime residence through the McKinney-Vento Homeless Assistance Act, which is the primary piece of federal legislation related to the education of children and youth experiencing homelessness. In Portland, McKinney-Vento students and their families are doubled up with one or sometimes more than one other family in a house or apartment, or they may be living in motels, the YMCA, a family shelter, or are totally unhoused. And so for context, we started the prior school year with 447 McKinney-Vento students, and if you remember, some of them were at the expo. And we were so busy with that during the summer last year. We closed the school year, this past school year, with 710 McKinney-Vento students. And with Portland High School, Deering High School, and Reiki Elementary School receiving about half of McKinney-Vento students. This summer, specifically in late June and early July, we called McKinney-Vento families to confirm their addresses and therefore their McKinney-Vento status. The updated addresses assist the transportation department in creating bus assignments for the students, assess the staffing impact on schools, and address the supports that might be needed by students and staff. As of July, at the end of July, we have a total of 428 McKinney-Vento students enrolled in Portland Public Schools. I just want you to know that so it's sort of like the same as last year. And this number is expected to change at the start of the school year for a variety of reasons. Families who are already in Portland are continuously finding permanent housing, which is good news. Some are transferring to another school district or moving to another temporary housing in the city. And of course, the new, always unknown arrivals of new families coming to Portland in the summer months of August and then, of course, in September. This summer, we were also busy with 2-week programming for middle school McKinney-Vento students led by a bilingual social worker. And the overarching aim is to address the holistic needs of McKinney-Vento students at this level, fostering a sense of normalcy, stability, agency, and resiliency so that they can have a healthy start to the school year. We actually purposely started the summer school late. We're still doing it right now, as most programs are already finished. So for upcoming work, in the next slide, as you may know, in October of last year, the state established a pilot program designed for school districts to have access to emergency financial assistance to help students avoid homelessness. So this is not necessarily just for homeless students, it's also to avoid being homeless. This grant from the Maine Department of Education allows for up to $750 per student for financial emergency assistance, such as rent, utility bills, transportation, critical home repairs, and other McKinney-Vento allowable expenses. This funding must be used for direct payment to a vendor for a service, such as a landlord or a utility company, and requires invoices. The funds cannot be distributed directly to families or students. For this coming year, so it's a long process, we received our allocation for the program in the amount of $257,000, and we will continue the process that we used last year, that the state finds very good, as they're very thorough, that we used last year to determine student eligibility, whereby school social workers complete the application form for the students, for the family, and then Priscilla Bittencourt, our McKinney-Vento liaison, reviews it, and then we submit it to the finance department for processing. So it's my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Grace. Before we go into questions, I just want to, again, come back to where we started, which is just a sincere thank you to not just the individuals who presented, but to the teams that they represent and that they lead for all of the work that they have done throughout the year and through the summer to make sure that we are where we're at and that we're ready for the start of the school year. And so with that, Chair, I will turn it back to you for questions.
Perfect. And could you put back the slide that has the 8 categories on it? And we'll go by category. No.
Yeah, okay. Of course.
Thanks. Beautiful. So up first we have staffing. Does anybody have a question on staffing on the board? Board Member Opperman, was that a question?
Well, I have a question about what we could do about assisting the special ed directorship hires. I mean, that's to make all the other changes we had at all the different schools work. We need someone who's going to coordinate all that. And I don't know what kinds of incentive things like bus driver incentive things might help. So that's a question, comment, suggestion, idea on that. And how many ed techs do we not have?
So let's take those 2 questions sort of in piecemeal. So I'm going to invite up Dr. Warren and maybe Dr. Atkinson and Dr. Ahmed, if you want to talk about some of the contingency planning that has already happened just around sort of thinking about capacity for the start of the school year. This is something that when we started the shift in organization, these positions were there and they were filled. And as you can imagine, right, both changes as well as opportunities that may exist in other districts arose, life changes, and we're in this spot. And so it is really thinking about how do we recruit and find the right person, whether that's somebody that's currently in our district or somebody from afar. And so we're thinking about that. And we're also thinking about how do we make sure that we start off strong at the beginning of the year with the staff that we have into these new roles. And so I know that Dr. Warren, in her role working with our Director of Special Education, Jesse Applegate, who works at the district level within this, has been working with Dr. Atkinson and Dr. Ahmed to really think about contingency planning for the start of the school year. And so maybe you guys want to start there. And then while we're doing that, I know that Jennifer is doing a little bit of counting to get exact ed techs as of the moment.
Great, thank you. So first of all, I mean, one of the things we're doing is just trying to pull out all the stops and get as creative as we can on the hiring front. And funny enough, Angela had just texted me a few minutes before and said, what about incentives for these positions too? So great minds think alike, apparently. So yeah, we'll look into that. Anyone here that has connections with folks, we certainly would love to have some, help and support in spreading the word. We're trying to use our own networks to the best of our ability and just get word out through different channels. But Meanwhile, knowing that we may not be able to hire fast enough to get ready for the very first day of school, Jesse, and he's also got Tisha McCarthy has started as the new assistant director for specialized services or specialized programming. And so the two of them are currently working together with Julie, who's still here for a little bit longer. They have been planning the professional development for the new special education coordinators who will start late in August. So a lot of that PD has already been planned, but what Jesse is now working on is pulling together a group of people with expertise at the teacher level who can help support ongoing professional development and assisting their peers. So we're looking to offer people a little bit of extra time where they could come in and share their expertise to help us with some of that work. And then we're looking at other folks too, maybe people who've retired and might want to come back for a little while, people who could help particularly with advising some of the special ed coordinators on the IEP process, which will be one of the parts of their role. So we're just looking at it from every angle to see both how we can hire and how we can make sure that we're supporting our folks in the meantime.
So I am concerned about this position, but on the other hand, I'm also relieved that we have the special ed coordinators at the school level in place. So I just, that, helps me kind of breathe a little bit easier. I do think, the posting for the elementary level was just posted on July 31st. So it's still early days. So I think definitely some help getting the word out and encouragement to apply would be helpful. I am certainly doing that myself, asking my team to do that. So that's what I think I would add. So
thank you.
And I'll just add one other piece that I think when we thought about all of the changes in the organizational structure, this is the one that we always knew was sort of going to be the hardest, which was the staffing around special education. And the directors, and as Dr. Atkinson said, it was always going to be this trade-off around how do we get capacity at the school level, right? So that we had capacity closest to students, knowing that we were also going to have to figure out this capacity at the network level. And that's where we have that tension now, is before we didn't have it at the school level. And now we have this piece where we got to figure out at the network piece, right? And we wanted it both. And
yeah, we'll get there.
We flipped it right now. Jennifer.
Just for sake of some numbers, right now, out of the 50 or so vacancies, about 15 of them are ed tech specifically, and the bulk of those positions sit in special ed. There's an overlap because many of those positions are pre-K special ed, so it really sits heavily in special ed and pre-K. I was talking to Jesse today about our plans moving forward, and we do have a couple of positions that we're hiring at the moment. We have some internal transfers that are going on, so we're moving some people around to get into those positions. And then, as with last year, I know there's a plan to work with an agency as necessary to make sure that we have those positions filled so that our students who need the additional support and our classrooms and staff who need the additional support will have that for the start of the school year.
Thank you.
Other questions from the board around staffing? Okay, seeing none, let's go ahead and move to food services. No? Oh, Vice Chair Bondo, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. I have a clarification question here. For the summer, let's get my page. For the food service, so I just want to make sure, did we serve any breakfast or lunch during summer, or is it just the ready for school?
So in the summer, we did have our summer meal sites at 11 locations that were open to any child 18 or under for breakfast and or lunch. And also the children that were there attending various programs were also had access to breakfast and lunch.
So we have some specific site, right, where families or students are coming for lunch, for breakfast and lunch?
Yeah, and Dawn, do you know approximately how many meals, breakfast and lunch, you were serving each day?
Oh, yep. So I did some quick math before coming here.
Okay.
But the average daily participation around the entire summer meal program is around 350 breakfasts a day and 550 to 600 lunches a day. And some of those depend on the particular day. Not all programs run 5 days a week.
Okay.
Sometimes the weather affects it a little bit too.
Okay. So I just want to get my head together on so exactly. So families are bringing the students, they're bringing the kids at the school, right? So is any transportation, they have to come on their own if they have to have the breakfast at lunch on those sites.
So if I'm understanding the question correctly, the children do need to eat on site. The waiver that allowed the grab and go meals has expired. We're no longer allowed to do that.
Okay.
So for kids that are coming to the program, sometimes what we see is an older sibling will come with younger siblings to have breakfast or lunch. Sometimes parents will bring their kids to participate in breakfast or lunch, and the bulk of our participation is for our kids that are attending programming at those locations.
Okay. But okay. Because I try just to understand, those are the families who don't have any transportation or living a family shelter, or they need to participate, on those summer meal programs. What we do.
Right. So some of our summer meal locations are at the Munjoy South Playground, at the Kennedy Park Study Center, the Boys and Girls Club in Sagamore Village, the Boys and Girls Club in Riverton Park. We have a open summer meal site at the Root Cellar. So we try to be where we can to provide access for families.
Okay, so how we do advertise for the families to know? So are we sending some information at the end of the school for those summer meals? So because now we have a lot of families across the city, I just need to understand. The way we making sure that, most of the families are aware about the program during summer.
Right. So just before the end of the school year, we distribute a summer meal map.
Okay.
So all of the children at the elementary schools, there is enough summer meal maps sent for each student to bring one home. At the middle and the high school, we cut those numbers back a little bit. They tend to kind of look more online, but they are there. And the summer meal sites are also on the school district website, and then it is also included in the weekly district social media blast, I think you call it, that gets sent out. The summer meal sites are also included there.
Okay. So are we tracking the demographic or racial of our students who are mostly coming for lunch and breakfast, or we just serving the first come and away? How we do the tracking to know exactly how many students we do serve and the ratio of that, or also the ethnicity. So because I just want to understand which our population are we serving the most during those specific times.
Yep. So we don't track the racial data or ethnicity for the summer meal programs. We can look on the USDA census map that's used for summer meals, and that kind of helps us see the demographic of that particular area.
Okay. All right. Sounds good to me. Thank you so much. This is amazing. Thank you for the hard work we're doing. Thank you.
Thank you,
Chair.
And we would also get some of that demographic info from the programs that are running, right? We don't collect it, but it is out there if we need it.
Based on some of the census tracking data.
Got it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dawn. Anything else around food services?
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dawn. How about transportation? Yes, Board Member Opperman. It's okay. You don't have to be shy.
Oh, I'm not shy. I got a list.
That's the wrong adjective.
And all. I read all of your reports that you sent in, so they're all very well and good. you did a lot of explaining and numbers and things like that in transportation, so I appreciate that. You answered several of my questions. We don't know how many contract buses we're going to need yet.
Not sure yet. Not to put pressure on Katie, but she's just learned how to do the routing process and she's deep in it now. So once we know the full number of routes and the number of drivers, we can align. I mean, we are pushing hard towards trying to reduce the reliance on contractors, but I don't want to make any promises until we're sure we've got it kind of nailed
I understand.
down. Yeah.
I appreciate you and I spoke through emails about making sure people had access, and I've been trying to reach City Council in reference to the need for crosswalks in certain locations where there are buses and the routing of buses and what's permitted. On that, you were talking to people, particularly in my district, on crosswalks for Rose School, so I appreciate that work. The thing that one piece is, it's not metro busing for to and from school for middle schoolers or high school, but has there been any thought or investigation of possibilities of using Metro for after-school activities, sporting practices, sporting games within the Metro region, and trying to see how that might work, and also Metro area field trips. So, like, third grade class gets in the bus and takes it downtown and goes and see the market or something of that sort. I just didn't know how much of that might be possible to use.
We have done a little bit of that, more on a case-by-case basis. We haven't institutionalized it, but I think you're right that we probably should go deeper into that. Last year, when we were really struggling in the fall with some of the athletics transport, we did end up, working with schools to do some public transportation in some cases. And that's also, there have been a few kids that just needed a way to get somewhere, and we helped them on more of a case-by-case basis with some passes. But as you know, we don't currently give the passes to all middle schoolers, but certainly worth more exploration.
And just as it relates to athletics within the district, like if we're playing another school within the city, sorry, as if two schools are playing and they're both in the same city, we do not do transportation for that. So the students are using Metro or some other form of transportation to get to and from those games across the city.
And I bring that up because I do know that one of the issues with manning the buses in the afternoons and all is that it's overtime for some of them and it's extra work, and not everybody's can do that. So I just was trying to figure that, and Metro goes beyond the city limits. So I don't know if Yarmouth might want to come in and take the bus in. So it's just that thought. Thank you.
All right. Just our biggest issue actually with athletics is less that the drivers don't want to do it because they often sign up for the overtime. The problem is that the games start before the end of our last run in the afternoon. So that's where we struggle, is the timing more than anything. Okay. Yeah.
Thank you very much. I appreciate all your work.
Board Member Victor.
Thank you so much. I had a quick question. I was just curious about the tags. Seems like a great system, but are these, are families going to have to sew them onto backpacks? I was trying to understand.
It's such a good question, and I'm kicking myself now because I had meant to get some samples and bring them out here so you could see them. They are essentially a plastic tag. Each is color coded. So again, yellow for the pre-K and K kiddos. And then they have the route number on them so that it's clear which bus they're supposed to be getting on. And then if you flip it over, there's a little plastic, a printed out sticker that can go on the back of that to show the student ID number, so that if someone needs to know which student this is, if there's a language barrier or something, they can quickly figure out which student it is. So
is it essentially hang from?
Yeah, it has a little plastic tab, and it goes off the edge of the backpack.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I was just imagining.
It was a great question. Yeah.
I also was imagining how would we get that on the backpack, but other questions about transportation? Vice Chair Bondo, is your hands up for transportation?
Yes, Chair.
Go ahead.
All right, thank you. Yeah, I'm so excited, Sarah, about the fully staffing that you have in the transportation area. And I just want to welcome Katie to the team. And I like the upgrade of the routine, the tracking system, the new tablets. We are 21st century, I think we start getting now. Then that's exactly what we have to monitoring or tracking those routes. I think it's going to be exciting to see. So my question is about the metro. I know we're doing the transportation for, elementary school to middle school and high school. They're using the metro. Do we have any liaison between, or is about the metro pass for the student at high school is being managing by the building leaders? So I just want to understand, because we have everything set up for the school year, ready for the school, for elementary to middle school. So I just want to hear about the high school. I feel like they're being some left behind.
So just to make sure I'm clear, you're asking about the Metro passes and how those get to students?
Yes.
Those they get distributed to the schools, and then the schools distribute them to the students, really because of the volume and because they're the ones who know their students best.
Okay.
And then once a student gets the pass, they've got it. But if they lose one, then we work that out with the school.
Okay, that's what I want to know. Thank you so much, Sarah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Mm-hmm.
Any other questions? I've got a couple. First, my kiddo goes to rec camp at East End, and he is a kid that likes to be in the same place all summer. So I've gotten to see a lot of these systems work and the overlap of rec camp and summer programming and all the transportation and the food and all the things. And it's just like it just has seemed like really, really good. And I think not only has it felt really good, but every bus driver that I have seen this summer has been literally joyful. Like, it has been contagious to the kids. And so I just want to pass that compliment along, that the bus drivers just seem really engaged and happy, and it translates to the kids. So just want to pass that observation along. I also love the tag system, and even if the tags don't work, I just love that we're thinking about this, and like we'll have a baseline to iterate on to find a system that works. Because I think, as board chair, first day of school, bus transportation emails are like the things I'm already anxious about. And so I just think that like thinking through this granular level, and it just seems like there's so much confidence within the department right now, which is just really awesome to see. So thank you for all your work on that. And then this question kind of overlaps with transportation and IT. I'm just curious about is there a plan for to make sure that our bus drivers have enough technology literacy to be able to use the tablets in a confident way? And kind of like, I'm just curious how you're thinking about that, because I could imagine that it would be a learning curve for some.
So Tyler Technologies comes in and provides training for this team, and then the training kind of flows down to the drivers. It's primarily the drivers that will be using the tablets, although the assistants can be trained too. There's no reason for them not to have that knowledge. And I think just based on the demos that we've had from Tyler, that a lot of that technology is relatively intuitive. But as you pointed out, not everyone feels technology is intuitive at all, right? And we've gone through this in helping people get up to speed with ADP. And so, I expect there will be something of a learning curve. And certainly we will want to ease into it a little bit, because we don't want people to be stressed while they're in a bus. So we'll have to kind of come up to speed. Sorry for the pun.
Yeah.
Did you want to add something? Because you got...
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I think the thing that's most exciting is that what's on the screen looks almost exactly like what they're getting in a paper form.
Great.
So they'll be able to see all the same information. So that's exciting to me. You can see what kids are supposed to be getting on, and information about what their accommodations may be and things like that. And, we certainly will not send a bus driver out with no tools if they feel like they're not ready. So
Beautiful, beautiful. And then Ted, will your team be in charge of all those devices also? No.
Yeah, we have nothing to do. It's a completely closed system. It's their devices that they install a custom operating system. There's nothing for us. If there's something goes wrong with the tablet, it goes right back to Tyler and they deal with it.
Great.
And they've been excellent help for me in the last couple of weeks. So yeah, I'm confident with them.
Good. So glad to hear. Any other questions? Yeah, go ahead, Board Member Ali.
Oh, I just had a quick question. If any emergency were to happen on the bus, God forbid, would drivers be able to use their iPads to communicate to someone like the dispatcher? Or is that like a feature that's maybe not thought about?
The radios will still stay in place. So the process for communication will still be there.
Okay, thank you.
Question. All right, let's move along to facilities. Any questions on facilities? Go ahead, Board Member Opperman.
Comment. Good job.
Yeah. Seconded. Yeah.
Also a comment for me. As excited as I am about the facilities changes, another member of my family would be doubly excited about the change to the wrestling room at Deering High because she works in the healthcare facility on the other side of the wall and had to conduct many visits with the thumping of heavy Deering High School wrestlers nearby. So thank you for that move.
Thank you, Board Member Grant. Vice Chair Bondo.
Yes, thank you so much. I'm just a little concerned about the rising of the COVID and flu during, when we're going to start the school. I just wonder about all our windows because I know most of our buildings, they have big issues with windows. So I just want to make sure then, because I didn't see anything on the report, like, the walkthrough when you want to check on that. Did we have anything? The air circulation is well done. I just want to make sure that we have that. Those are windows. And also, I didn't see anything about the island school. So everything is okay on the Fixed Island school and other island to make sure that, they have also good, when I say, and get ready for the school around the facilities.
Yeah, the island schools, the regular maintenance and custodial staff is making sure those schools are ready. Cliff Island is a little bit of a different story. I've been talking with Kelly Hassan over there. We have a custodial position open at Cliff Island that was, Chester was there for a long, long time and he retired. So we're trying to work on contingency plans if we can't fill it and what we can do. She's working with some engaged community members on Cliff Island to see if we can fill that position. So in regards to projects at the islands, I have to prioritize projects, with my team. I have 4 maintenance guys and we only have so much capacity. So there are definitely things on the capital improvement projects for the Peaks Island. We just haven't been able to get to that point to start those projects. And then the other question was related to windows.
Yes.
So there are numerous window projects on the capital plan too. I'm going to start working on the engineering of those first, and once we have the engineering done, then we can go out to bid on getting those replaced. But at this point, I have not started those projects.
And when you do your walkthroughs, do you check around the functionality of the windows in terms of the ability to open and close? Because I imagine that during the summer, the windows are generally kept closed to deal with moisture and all of that piece. And so just how do you monitor around windows and the ability to open and close for fresh air circulation?
I know during COVID, it was a big push to make sure there was at least one window that could open in every classroom. So I just would, I would have my staff, the custodial staff, make sure that that's still the case.
Yes, please. Yeah, please do, because I'm sorry, Chair.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Vice Chair Pondo, I thought I heard another question in there, which was how we're monitoring COVID and flu as the numbers seem to be going up, and if there's any considerations happening around that.
exactly.
Okay. Well, and it sounded like specifically around windows and air circulation. So
I mean, from their window standpoint, we'll make sure that there's at least one functioning window in every classroom. Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can we get some updates later on? I mean, at the end of before September, before we get some, because I'm so concerned because most of our buildings, especially high schools, during this has never had any good windows. So I'm just wonder if it's still the case, and Portland High School as well. Yes.
Thank you, Vice Chair Bando.
Thank you.
Board Member Figdor, go ahead.
I mean, just, we made a lot of upgrades during COVID, and it's not like we turned those, the circulation upgrades off. So I do want to just, I certainly agree. We should be able to open windows, and I know it's always been a challenge in some of our very old buildings, but I want to underscore too that we have made those facility upgrades, and we still get to benefit from them.
Thank you. Okay, anything else for facilities? Thank you for all your work. IT, any questions around IT? Board Member Rapperman, go ahead.
Hi, talking about equipment and how things are managed. I was wondering if you have any interface with the individuals at the schools who are looking at ways of monitoring or containing cell phones. Of what I've read about all the different kinds of ways of managing that. I don't know if you'd had any.
I have not. I haven't.
Okay, that might be great if they do that.
Yeah.
Let me just jump in on the cell phone question. Our PEA president, Carrie Dowdy's been meeting with a group of educators. Dr. Ahmed met with the group of middle and high school leaders just this week to talk about it. And they're coming together as one group later this summer in preparation for meeting with all middle school staff in the August 27th, 28th, 29th window to talk about that and to talk about sort of how we want to address what is a clear challenge of both from a mental health aspect and a social aspect in terms of how to promote good social aspects as well as engagement in class, but then also the real logistical challenges. Right? I'm sitting here with two phones and every one of us has a device and we all have a tendency to check it throughout. Right. And so how do we deal with the logistical challenges of that? And so that is a conversation that is ongoing and that we plan to engage both the community and then the board with an update on in the future. And so that is a piece that we're starting with first, just the practical of what does that look like for educators, for students.
I do understand how that is for educators, and and there have been so many suggestions on how to handle it, and some of it is more technical, bags and different things of sorts. So I'm wondering whether or not it's the kind of thing that can be monitored. IT could help out with. They wanted. If they got all that time.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not trying to put more on your shoulder, but that was just one of those things.
Yep, yeah. That has not been put on my radar yet.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Well, but maybe not for a while.
Certainly help if I need to.
Okay. Thanks.
Vice Chair Bando, go ahead.
Thank you. Yeah, I had a little question about the old laptops because I think we're going to have some replacement. I know we invested on those laptops, so I want to know when we replace those old laptops. So what do we do with those old ones? Are we trading them or recycling them? So what we do because we invested on that.
Yes, it's actually something that I've implemented since I got here. I'm really excited about it. So what we're doing is the 2,500 laptops that we're getting now, the brand new ones, we're replacing all of the high school devices.
Okay.
With the ones that we get back. The middle schools all got new devices last year, so they're good to go. We're going to replace the 3 to 5 devices. The ones that we're going to have a healthy store of reserves as well, so that we can have replacement devices as they break throughout the year. Ones that are no longer under warranty, but are still technically functional, we will give to adult ed. And then we're using a company called Give IT, Get IT for our e-waste management. So what happens is if a server or a laptop is broken or just no longer useful at all, they come pick it up. And if they can refurbish it, they do, and then they donate it to other institutions that need it, nonprofits, things like that. And then and we get rid of our e-waste for little to no cost.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense to me. Thank you so much. Yes.
Thank you. Oh, did you have one? Yeah, go ahead.
Can I just say thank you? That's awesome. It's great to hear that we are, being as responsible as we are. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, and also just appreciative of your systems thinking that you're bringing to this role in our district. I think you're right. Like, not only because you have a lean team, but just it will help us all if we are all more efficient. So, thank you for that work.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Let's do elementary and secondary together so we can have the team come on up. Questions from the board?
Look at them run up.
I know. Any questions?
Go first if they want.
Yeah, Board Member Opperman, you just set the tone. Go.
Okay. A couple here and there, and I did separate them elementary and school. At the end of last year in the elementary, we were excited the fact that all elementary teachers would have a lot of preps because we'd have a lot of coverage by virtue of providing lots of other things like art,
the specials.
The specials. Yeah. So many. The specials use so many different ways. I'm avoiding it. Is that happening, and is it equal across the district?
Yes, it is happening. Different schools have their schedules are, there are some slight differences. I would say we have what we have achieved is at the K-5 level. I think almost all schools almost all have 5 specials. That was one of the criteria that we were trying to go for. We do have some that are really more like 4. So our small schools, Presumpscott and Longfellow, have like 4 specials that they can offer. I wouldn't say that we're offering 5 different specials at each different grade level, but across a child's elementary school, they would have an opportunity to participate in 5 different specials. We've also been able to arrange for those specials at the island schools. So we are sharing some of our staff from the mainland with our island schools so that they have also have a complement of specials teachers this past year. And I think for the past 2 years, for instance, they have not had access to a PE teacher that was certified. So we've been able to arrange for that. So that's something that we've provided. I do think, pre-K, we are not offering the 5 different specials. That isn't something that we feel is developmentally appropriate. But those teachers will have the planning time. And there are some tension. We are trying to work out how that, in some places they are having some difficulty with that. One of the challenges is that pre-K, right, because of the ratio is 1:8. So if you have a full class, you would have to have 2 people in there. So to try and cover for the teacher, it usually requires a little more people. Anyway, it can be a little more complicated. So that's one place where we've had difficulty. But by and large, across the board, we've been able to achieve that. I'd say one of the we have had to, we have morning meeting that usually starts like first of the day. We've had to adjust the schedule on some so that maybe in our later grade classes, they might have morning meeting at the mid-morning kind of time so that we can make better use of the specials time so that
makes sense.
We can have that. But yeah, I would say we've been able to do that. So.
The other question I have for elementary is how are the class sizes doing?
Yeah.
Yeah, you knew it was coming.
Yeah. Well, we do maintain, Portland, for K, our cap is 20. For first, second, and third, it's 22. And for fourth and fifth, it's 25. So I don't know what the averages are. Most of our schools are not reaching that that level. And when we're trying to figure out, there are a couple places, I think, like Talbot, third grade is one space that I've been looking at. I think we may need to add a teacher there so that they don't go over those caps that we work with. And then we will likely have to add a kindergarten at Lyseth because of their numbers there too. But by and large, we will stay within the frame of that of the. I see you motioning. Does those seem like high?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do. I mean, K through 3. 15 to 18 is the best to get.
That's probably what we are, especially like K1. We're probably closer. If you look at the average, it's like 7, maybe 17 or something like that. But we do. It's some of our schools that are reaching capacity, like a row, where we have they are right there on the edge for their kindergarten classes at 20. So, yeah.
Thank you. Any other?
Did you want to ask your secondary questions as well? Yeah.
And if the board would like to add some ed techs at the kindergarten level, I'm sure the elementary teachers would and administrators would appreciate that. But that's not a discussion that we have now, but something to think about.
There's always a budget.
That's right.
There's always a budget. Thank you very much. My question, I've got lots for middle school because you knew it. One of the things, because middle school is in my mind, and as we prepare and look at what's coming up in this next year, how are we increasing the rigor for the middle school and providing the support for those kids? Is there anything changed so that we see a change? I know we're working on literacy specifically, but just in general in middle school, is there any motion in that direction?
Yeah, and in our strategic plan, and it's 2.2, it's one of the things that really we need to be doing this year is working with middle school leaders and middle school teachers in ELA and implementing the EL curriculum. And this is, it is for the second year now that most of the schools, but this is the time that we are really looking into how we can delve into this and do more of this work, as well as also there will be soon communication from middle schools that we will have Algebra 1 for 8th graders, and there will be communication to families in the community about how they can access that and that opportunity is available. And so, yes, there will be more rigor in
that. Jumping into algebra, if you're not ready for it, is there the support system for, say, a 7th grader or a 6th grade parent or 7th grade parent knows the child is not, well, they may or may not know, but that how it isn't on the strategic plan per se, but I just was hoping, back of my mind is something like Make It Happen. I love Make It Happen. It is fantastic. It does so much. And it supports the kids through all sorts of things. Is anything like that happening for all students, not just English language learners at the middle school?
I hear you, and it cannot start only at the 8th grade level. It could be, it should be in also some prep in the 6th and 7th grade.
Yes.
And so the question is, or if I understand, is like, what supports that you will put in place for remediation and support, as well as also acceleration. So that it's not only the acceleration, but also the schools are working to have some interventions. So or having like math intervention coach, math interventionists at the school level, as well as just working in acceleration and remediation both.
So that's happening across the three of them.
Yes.
Okay, excellent. One of the things that we've been worrying about is, and as a teacher in the back of my mind, always being asked to assess and how, and we do have the assessments that will go through the states, and we get those scores, which are whatever purpose those have, but each student has their advancement, and I'm wondering, how is their assessment being of progress specifically being addressed so that it can be monitored and explained to the parent that your child's doing, at this point, maybe grade level, or maybe needs to have more work on this particular piece. I had just had some conversations with some people, particularly people who are English language learners, the adults themselves, saying that there was a concern that, everything is fine, and then it's not fine. So I'm wondering, as we look, I know the elementary is doing stuff with reading in their computer generated assessment and whatever, so they can say to parents, yes. I just wondered if that's happening or going to happen soon at the middle school.
Yes, we will have center point assessment at the middle school level. And, as you said, it is when we don't have data, we don't have problem at all.
Exactly.
So we need to get the data first, because this is one of the things that, as we are on this central level, when, having Hale in the team and establishing that team, getting more data, and whether it is collective level, that for all students or the individual student level. So this is something that without it, we cannot move forward. So we need to be working hard on how to extract this data, whether it is the attendance and absenteeism, to suspensions, to performance, and whether negative or positive outcomes of the students.
Great. That's it.
Beautiful. And I'm conscious that we have some visitors here. I know we've got a big agenda going. So if you have a question that you could follow up with people individually, please do that. But if there's a question that needs to be asked now about anything that was given an update on tonight, you can go ahead and ask. Vice Chair Bondo?
Yes, thank you, Chair. I have two questions, one for Dr. Angela and one for Dr. Ahmed. Dr. Angela, I just want to have a clarification on the kindergarten adult support. Is a totally different qualification credential than the EdTech?
No, those would be for kindergarten support. We contract for BHPs, or behavioral health professionals. So we work with an agency to help us identify those. So that's part of our strategy for adult support at the kindergarten level. And then the other part is the EdTechs 3. So the same qualification for EdTechs that we normally hire for.
Okay, so maybe something that you can follow up. Do we know how many we need those kind of adult support for different schools, and about the ratio with the student?
Yeah, so I'm just going to give you an estimate here. Okay. We're looking about 6 ed techs, and probably similar numbers of BHPs. That posting, I think, is, if not, hasn't gone live yet, but would be live soon.
Okay, right. Yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yes. Yep. Dr. Ahmed, I'm kind of, I don't want to go to the strategic plan because this is a long-term process. I'm just wondering right now if we start getting ready for the schools, for the school culture and climate for September. I mean, did we do something about that to make sure that our students are ready to come back in the live school where they have a good atmosphere, where we can see some restorative justice, beside of what we're going to build under the strategic plan, what we have done already, especially around middle school.
So the all middle schools hired, and they have climate and culture coordinator, and with that, also we are making sure that the work will be around the strategic plan. The initiative 3.1 initiative. So we are working on how to orient and the members get ready, and also the coordinators get the professional development that they need, and what they need when they go back to the schools, and how to facilitate the work. So it is that front loading from hiring the personnel who will do this work to from all secondary schools to getting them ready to facilitate this work.
I mean, we didn't hire them yet, right? So it's still on process.
No, there is one now is in the process for Deering High School, and there is one who's almost done with the process at Casco Bay, but the rest are complete.
Okay. Okay, good. So I would like to follow up that one before September. Thank you so much, Dr. May.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Board Member Billiou?
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to, I guess, just point out a comment that was just recently made about Make It Happen being accessible to all students. The point of Make It Happen is to bridge the gap that all students already have access for. It's specifically meeting a need that the regular day-to-day system can't meet. So it's bridging a gap and it's bridging a barrier. And so to continuously, because I've heard this comment come up a lot, to ask for Make It Happen to be accessible to everybody really diminishes the reason for it to exist in the first place. So I think I just really want us to understand the importance of the fact that it's a program that's meant to bridge gaps, because those things aren't provided at the home. These are things that regular students either are able to get support from their parents or from the structure or the systems that they already have, or they already have that skill just from being born and raised here. So I just want us to understand that it's not something where we're just like, oh, because it's a great program, let's make sure everybody else has access to it. It's a great program because it's specifically focusing on deconstructing a barrier. So I just wanted to say that. Thank you.
Thank you, Board Member Billiou. I'm going to ask, yes, last question, and then we're going to move on, but get it on in here.
Okay. Basically, my question or comment is, do we have any data for the number of students who are taking higher level classes? For example, right after they get to high school, like honors and AP classes, or after spending a year and just getting used to high school, are being challenged or are challenging themselves? Do we have data like that? Or is it possible to kind of start a data that shows us over the years, this is how middle school is preparing our students to come into high school? And from high school, we show that our students were not just stuck as standards or honors, but are going above and beyond each year. And we have something to show for that.
Yeah, so at the middle schools, there are kids in different who are in some specialized some programs like Chapter 104, or kids who choose to challenge themselves and take some accelerated math. And so when they go to the high schools, they are taking more accelerated math, and those students are often very few. So with this year, with Dr. Scanlon's directive, we are making that opportunity more accessible for more students. So there will be more students who will participate, and the families will know about the opportunity, and also there will be some access for more students to get into these classes. When we can get the data from who are accessing in different tracks in the high schools, but there is more of the culture of encouraging students and working with the students to challenge themselves. The opportunities available, but something to work is how to provide more access and more encouragement.
And I think also, sorry.
I was just going to add one piece to your sort of on the surface level part of your question around the availability of the data. So one of the mission measures, the 5-year goals that is in the strategic plan, is around students having access and participating in what we're defining as sort of like post-secondary ready or college ready courses. So whether that is dual enrollment, AP courses, something that leads to an industry credential or certification. Right now in our student information system, which is Infinite Campus, we do not have a readily available way to do that. And so we can't tell you exactly how many students participate, what their success is, or even how that breaks down based on student demographic data. And so that is one of the work of the data team this year, is to make sure that we're able to not just collect that, but to then set a goal around it so that we're able to see progress across the 5 years. And so that is part of the work this year. And it's why, if you look at the mission measures, you will see that there's a line that says that goal, and it's a TBD for this year because we don't have a baseline for it.
Thank you.
Did you have a second part to your question?
No.
Okay, perfect. All right, I'm going to close questions on this section. Dr. Valenzuela, I don't mean to shorten your question taking. People reach out to you if they have questions, but your presentation was super clear. So thank you. And thank you for all the work that you're doing for our students. So with that, I'm going to move us to the report of the secretary. And so we have the consideration and action to approve the meeting minutes of June 18th, 2024. Are there any corrections to the meeting minutes for June 18th, 2024? Okay, seeing, let me just double check Zoom really quickly. Okay, I see no corrections there. Then the minutes are approved as distributed. Dr. Warren, we just do a consensus vote on this one. You don't have to call the names. We're good. And then we are going to move into a quick vote on the 2024-2025 Board of Education meeting calendar. We looked at this last time. We talked about it, and we're just going to take a vote on it this time. So is there a motion for the consideration and action to approve the 2024-2025 Board of Education meeting calendar? Thank you, Board Member Figdor. Is there a second? Board Member Grant, I'll get you next time, Board Member Ali. Are there any questions from the board on this calendar? Okay, see none on Zoom. Any public comment? Okay, I'm going to close public comment. Any general discussion from the board? Then by roll call vote, please indicate whether you're in favor of the consideration and action to approve the 2024-2025 Board of Education meeting calendar. Dr. Warren, will you please call the roll?
Member Ali?
Yes.
Member Bilyeu?
Yes.
Vice Chair Bondo?
Yes.
Member Figdor?
Yes.
Member Grant?
Yes.
Member Noor? Not here. Member Opperman?
Yes.
And Chair Lentz?
Yes. So that passes with everyone present voting in the affirmative and no student reps here tonight. With that, I'm going to give us a 5-minute recess just because I need one. And so we'll come back and start a major construction proposal and workshop at 7:55. All right. So we're going to move ahead with some new business, which is our first read of the major construction proposal. We're excited to see our friends from Harriman here. Dr. Sarah Warren has her name very large on the screen right now.
Chair, if I can just put a little bit of context here, just around framing of work that is happening around this, as there's been public discussion around two flows of work. One, and Harriman and Dr. Warren will likely speak to this as well, but there's two flows of work that are happening. One is around major construction, and the second is around school consolidation. Portland Public Schools this year will be submitting applications in both. The major construction is where, and as Harriman will speak to it, they will talk about this at a high level about what this is. But this is where we are submitting a summary of the current state of our schools and asking the state to help fund or to contribute the majority of funds for significant renovations or a complete build of a new facility. And so that is one body of work. The consolidation is a second body of work that, again, we'll be submitting an application where we will be proposing an exercise of what it could potentially look like if we were to consider merging several of our high schools. At this point, this is not something where this is a done body of work. At this point, what we are doing is we are submitting this at the end of August, major construction, and consolidation in July or June of 2025, really to make sure that Portland Public Schools is in line and eligible for these funds when the state considers applications. And so as part of this process, this is really putting our name in line so that we have the ability that if the state deems us eligible, that we would then engage in a larger community process and a larger process with this board to figure out exactly what that body of work would look like. And so I don't want anybody from the community to look at this and to think or to go too far down the inferential ladder to think that we are proposing tonight that we would look to do major construction at the 4 schools that are proposed. But instead, what we are doing is trying to put our best foot forward and say that here are the 4 facilities that we think are probably most worthy or eligible for major construction. And if one of them were to be recognized by the state as also most worthy, it would make it so that Portland is eligible. And so this is, again, where we are getting in line for then having the option of future conversations. And so please know that this is the beginning of a very long process. This first process for major construction would be submission of applications in the end of August. And so you're seeing the tail end of it. And there is that other process around consolidation. That process will be a large community process for an application for July of 2025, which again is the start of a process that would then be a multi-year process. With that, I'm going to pass it to Dr. Warren, who can talk a little bit more about major construction, and then with Harriman doing a summary of the work that they have done to get us here.
Great, thank you. And I apologize, I don't know why I can't get my name to go away from the screen, so we'll have to work around that. I mean, I think that the presentation you're about to see is really going to give a fairly thorough overview of how this whole process works, the timing, what goes into it, how we're making these decisions in terms of what we put into the proposals that go before the state. I mostly just wanted to introduce our friends and colleagues from Harriman and say thank you because Harriman has been a longstanding partner of the districts long before I got here a year ago, but I've had the pleasure and the honor of working with them alongside a number of my other colleagues here over the course of the past year, including on finalizing our buildings for our future projects, which we've just basically completed now on time, under budget. So it's very exciting, and we'll be celebrating that hopefully with all of our friends from Harriman present on September 21st. So I wanted to just flag that as well. And with that, actually, we'll turn it over to Lisa Sawin from Harriman to share a little bit about the major construction projects.
Excellent. Thank you, Sarah. I'm going to use Sarah's presentation here. Oh, we just lost your...
I actually just took Sarah down. I'm going to share the screen so that we have it without the distraction.
All right. Well, good evening. Great to see everyone, and thank you for having us back. Always wonderful to partner with you guys. So, as mentioned, we've been helping out with the major capital school construction applications. And so it was very well put that this is to get the projects in line. This process comes up generally every 7 years. So when it comes up, if you have schools that you think be eligible, you apply and then see where that falls. If we go to the next slide. So a lot of text on this slide. It really breaks down three things. What is the overall process for state funding? What is the schedule for these applications, as well as the process that follows? And what is the history of the last round of funding? So high level, the state funding process overview. It's where you apply for major school construction projects. The Maine Department of Education will review the applications and will conduct a site visit. They rate each potential project. So every application that comes in, they are rating. There's an application per project or per school. It is really needs-based, so it's based on the needs of that school. It creates a list of projects in decreasing order from the project with the greatest need, so that would be number 1 on the list, followed by projects with lesser needs. So for example, last cycle, 7 years ago, there were 74 applications. Number 1 had the most need, and they got through 9 of those 74. The DOE and state board established both size and financial limitations of the projects. And they first looked at the possibility of renovations or renovations with additions. And then they also look at if that's not feasible and new construction is more feasible, that they go that route. And they even talk about possible consolidation of different schools through this process. So essentially the application, if you are at the top of the list, you essentially get a seat at the table to discuss a project with the state and the funding of that project. And so we are applying for 4 schools. We'll go over that in a minute, but the process is August 30th. These are due. So this would be the first read, and then there's a second read, and then we submit the applications on the 30th. The DOE will start their site visits in September and anticipate completing those by June 2025. And the new priority list will be available at the end of 2025. And that priority list is what they post on their site, and it's that ranking in priority order. It doesn't mean that people have gotten a project yet. They will then talk about releasing 1 to 3 projects per year, generally, is what we've seen. So the last round of funding in 2017, 2018, there were 74 projects and 9 approved. You guys had 2 applications that went in at that time. Casco Bay, which is this school in Paths, was ranked number 25 out of 74, and Portland High School was ranked number 15. So they hold you harmless in regards to applying. So since you applied for those 2 schools last time, any modifications that you've done to make improvements based on the things you reported last time, you're held harmless for that. So they look at the condition and they don't take, have any demerits for doing what you should do, is taking care of those conditions. Next slide. All right, so the 4 schools that have applications that have gone in or going in: Casco Bay High School and Paths, Portland High School, Deering High School, and Talbot Community School. The way that we've gathered the information, so Harriman is an architectural and engineering firm. We've done site visits to each of the schools. We've walked around with the facilities team and looked at the condition of the school, the systems. We've also reviewed any previous reports and applications, and we've met with all the principals. We've talked about programming, where there's impacts, where there is limitations of the facility in regards to programming, where there might just be spaces that aren't appropriate for that programming, and even where maybe staff members don't have a space. We've met with administrators and facility staff. We've done principal surveys to ask more detailed questions, and also had a facility and district survey as well. So working with a lot of different stakeholders to collect all this data. The application requirements are really 7 parts. You see those on the right-hand side of the screen. The real meat of the application is around the educational program information and the facilities information. And that's where a lot of the information is being gathered to highlight any really deficiencies with the buildings. Next slide. So how does the DOE rate these? They have in Chapter 61, they've outlined the rating system criteria, which is up here on the screen, and it's really 3 priorities, A, B, and C. A being buildings and grounds, and this is where the most amount of the points would come from, with the highest point values for any unsafe conditions, and any obsolete, inefficient, or unsuitable spaces or conditions. Priority B, school populations, so overcrowding, enrollment estimates, and population shifts. And then priority C would be programming and planning. So those are really the major categories that they're looking at, and those are the areas we're really emphasizing in all 4 of these applications. And then in the next slide, we do a high-level overview of the 4 schools, some images from the different schools, and some of the things that we've pointed out in the application, which is on the next slide. So breaking this down by, we organize our thoughts as to engineering and architectural disciplines. So at a high level, you can see the different needs in regards to site, structural, architectural, mechanical, plumbing, fire protection, and electrical. And there are a lot of items on there, and all things that we're trying to make it easier for the DOE to see. They're not always going to see these things as they're walking around, so we want to draw attention to these so that they're looking for them. But several different things. The facilities staff has been doing a great job with resources that they have available to maintain all of these spaces, but you can't always be keeping all of them up to the right standards at all the time. The couple things, I won't go into any detail on this, but if there's questions about any of these that you want to ask, definitely we can speak about this, but this is Casco Bay. And then we can go to the next slide. So Portland High School. Again, broken down by architectural and engineering discipline. You see a lot more architectural items in this one. Very old building, and definitely have several areas that need to be addressed in regards to the architecture itself, as well as the systems in the building. And the next one is Deering High School. And on this one, you'll see that really the majority of the items are architectural and mechanical, and definitely things around the mechanical replacement of different systems and controls, as well as lots of masonry repair and roofing maintenance, in addition to several other things as well. And then the Talbot Community School. A little bit more balanced, a little bit in every category here, with a couple highlights, I would say, around some of all of them definitely need an approach to a modern safety and security, which you're seeing in modern schools today that wasn't around when these schools were built. Different masonry items on most of the schools, this one included, and lots of stuff around electrical on this one. So that's really our high-level summary. The applications themselves are pretty robust. You'll see all the detail we went into in the application itself, as well as the supporting documents behind it. So that's all.
All right. So now I think we can take some questions from the board, if anyone has them.
And just a reminder to the board that all of the applications in draft form are on board docs, so you can see them in detail there if you want time to, look over them more. And the actual vote is in 2 weeks, so this is first read.
Board Member Opperman.
I read them. And,
thank you.
They were very thorough. I had only one comment.
Okay.
And that was in reference, I'm not sure which particular one, but it referred to looking around them saying old and tired. I would like to have that changed to decrepit or deteriorating.
Okay.
Okay, because I don't think, having been in those schools, I mean, it's more than that.
Yeah.
So that, and this off-site location transportation, mentioning that, is that part of the process? You mentioned where they, I think during where they played their sports and
yeah, they do ask where the athletic field.
And do they ask about the transportation about that? I mean, that.
I don't remember specifically if they ask about the transportation.
Or if that's concerned.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think that's necessarily. They're more trying to figure out, do you have the facilities available to the school?
Yeah, that was it. Okay. Pretty clear. Thanks.
Excellent.
So after this application is submitted, we really won't hear anything for over a year. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. Beautiful. And then in the meantime, we'll be working on other funds, potential streams of funding.
Yep.
Great. Any other questions from the board? See none on Zoom. I see none here. It's a great presentation. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Thank you, guys.
Beautiful. So up next, we have personnel. It's Jennifer.
As just a reminder, the board in the last meeting or the second to last meeting of the previous school year authorized the superintendent and staff to hire up through August 6th. And so tonight, what our executive director of HR will be sharing is all of the personnel that was hired during that time, just in the spirit of transparency and making sure that we're providing sort of a full update. And so you will hear our probationary, our 1 year, and our administrative hires in that order.
Beautiful. Yeah, so up first, I'll read out the motion, and then if you want to speak to it, you can do that. So consideration and action to approve the personnel items listed, which is election of teacher candidates probationary. Would you like to speak to this motion at all?
Great, thank you. Yes, I do want to point out, so we do have about 50 teachers coming forward for probationary status for the coming school year. I do want to highlight David Briley. As you know, Reiki has a system where we have lead teachers. And so with David, we were trying to figure out where it made most sense to put him. It's not the administrative report tonight. So we've put Mr. Briley on this report and just wanted to call him out and acknowledge that he will be serving in that lead teacher role at Reiki this coming school year.
Thank you. So are you giving a motion, or you have a question about the motion? The second one? Okay, let me get the motion to the floor and then I'll entertain any questions. So motion from Board Member Opperman. Is there a second? Board Member Figdor, thank you. We don't take any public comment on personnel items, but are there questions from the board? Board Member Figdor, go ahead.
My question was back on Mr. Briley. So is he in this position as a lead teacher considered probationary?
No, he's not.
Okay,
he
just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
Great question. Just double checking from the Zoom that there aren't any other questions from the board.
Could we maybe just figure out how to clarify that so that we're not lumping him in a category? I mean, I understand we tried to figure out how to put him, and I just don't want to make a motion. I don't want to vote on a motion that suggests that he might be probationary.
Yeah. I wonder if we could make an amendment to break him out and have him in his own category and just do a fourth motion tonight.
Sounds good.
Okay, so I'm going to move that as a friendly amendment.
Can we don't need to vote on him at all. There's no need to vote on him. You don't need to approve him in general. And so I think you can just do a friendly amendment to strike him from it. And then you can just vote on the probationary staff as listed.
Does that feel good to everybody? Yep. Seeing heads nod in here. Great. So the motion on the floor then is for the election of teacher candidates probationary minus David Briley. Did I say the name right? Okay, perfect. So then by roll call vote, please indicate whether you're in favor of these personnel items. Dr. Warren, can you please call the roll?
Member Ali?
Yes.
Member Bilyeu?
Yes.
Vice Chair Bondo?
Yes.
Member Figdor?
Yes.
Member Grant?
Abstain.
Member Opperman?
Yes.
And Chair Lentz?
Yes. So that's going to pass with Board Member Grant abstaining, as he always does for personnel votes. We're going to move to the second one, which is the consideration and action to approve the personnel items listed, the election of teacher candidates 1 year only. Go ahead, Jennifer.
Great, thank you. We have one teacher on this list who is in a 1 year only assignment covering for a leave of absence.
Beautiful, thank you. Do I have a motion for teacher candidates 1 year only? Approve these. Thank you, Board Member Opperman. Is there a second? Yes, yeah. Board Member Figdor, can you flip that in the record? It should have been Board Member Figdor first, Board Member Opperman second. We don't take any public comment on personnel items. Any questions from the board? Okay, seeing none, then by roll call vote, please indicate whether you're in favor of this personnel item. Dr. Warren, will you please call the roll?
Member Ali?
Yes.
Member Bilyeu?
Yes.
Vice Chair Bondo?
Yes.
Member Figdor?
Yes.
Member Grant?
Abstain.
Member Opperman?
Yes.
And Chair Lentz?
Yes, so the motion passes with all present voting in favor minus Board Member Grant, who abstained. And moving on to our last personnel item, we have the consideration and action to approve school administrators.
And we have 5 administrators for your consideration this evening.
Thank you so much. Do I have a motion for school administrators? Thank you, Board Member Figdor. Is there a second? Thank you, Board Member Ali. We do not take public comment on personnel items. Are there any questions from the board? All right, I see none. So by roll call vote, please indicate whether you're in favor of these personnel items. Dr. Warren, will you please call the roll?
Member Ali?
Yes.
Member Bilyeu?
Yes.
Vice Chair Bondo?
Yes.
Member Figdor?
Yes.
Member Grant?
Abstain.
Member Opperman?
Yes.
Chair Lentz?
Yes, so the motion passes with those present voting in the affirmative and Board Member Grant abstaining. So then I just want to double check that we are good to move into executive session. Great. Okay, beautiful. So thank you so much, Jennifer. So we have consideration and action to enter into executive session pursuant to 1 MRSA 4056D to discuss student enrichment coordinator contract ratification and EdTech negotiations. Do I have a motion? Thank you, Board Member Figdor. Do I have a second? I need one of you. Oh, thank you, Vice Chair Bondo. All in favor. So we're going to move into executive session. Board Member Grant will not come with us, but we will come back afterwards for a vote. Yeah, that's what we'll do. Those that are online, Superintendent Scallon sent a Google Meet that you should sign off of this Zoom and onto that Google Meet for executive session. There's something else you wanted to add? Okay, beautiful. All right, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4 here, 5 online. Do we have Vice Chair Bondo back yet? She's on. Okay, beautiful.
I'm here.
I think I got kicked off Zoom, so I can't see who's there. So we have the consideration and action to approve the SEC contract. Is there a motion? Thank you, Board Member Figdor. Is there a second? Thank you, Board Member Opperman. Any questions from the board? No. No, we don't have public comment on personnel items. Then by roll call vote, Great. Thank you, Dr. Warren. Please indicate whether you're in favor of ratifying this contract. Dr. Warren, will you please call the roll?
Member Ali?
Yes.
Member Bilyeu?
Yes.
Vice Chair Bondo?
Yes.
Member Figdor?
Yes.
Member Grant is no longer here. Member Opperman?
Yes.
And Chair Lentz.
Yes, so this passes unanimously. And now I move to adjourn the meeting. Is there a second? Thank you, Board Member Figdor. All in favor? We are adjourned at 8:57 p.m.